Welcome to the season where we shine a light on one of the most important roles in sports, high school coaches. I'm Hunter Price. I'll be your host for the season, and I'll be joined by my good buddy Jay Benish. And Jay, I can't believe high school hoops is already here.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, a couple weeks out, and some of the fall sports are wrapping up now, and we're getting more kids in the gym, and it's kind of that buzz that's going around with those getting some of those kids back from those fall sports to join, and the kids are getting excited. So, I'm looking forward to our conversations here, but certainly. Right now, I got a group out in the gym right now, getting shots up and working, and just the energy in there is a lot of fun this time of year. So.
When I was coaching, I always knew it got real whenever I could hear balls bouncing in the gym. Just walking by, I was like, "Oh crap, this is real. This is starting soon." And it was such an awesome feeling because you spend the spring decompressing, the summer experimenting and developing, and the fall thinking. And then once that tryout date hits, it's you just get to unleash everything that's been pent up inside for several months. You get to right wrongs, you get to establish new relationships with new kids, maybe put in new game plan, scheme, that sort of thing. It's super exciting. I want to do an introduction of how we know each other and kind of our history because I know there are coaches in Illinois and the surrounding Midwest region that are going to listen that don't know our background. I know the Wisconsin coaches know who you are. Some know who I am. I'm not going to overinflate my self-importance here, but you're pretty big in the basketball scene. So Jay, give us a snippet of where you came from and how you got to Oconomowoc.
I guess just the quick version. I grew up outside of Wisconsin Dells in a little town called Oconomowoc. I played for my dad, who was our varsity coach there for 23 years. And then from there went on and played for a legendary coach in college, Bob Gillespie, my freshman year, and ended up transferring to an NAIA school in La Crosse, Viterbo University, and spent the rest of my career there and coached there for 4 years as an assistant after I graduated, and then got my first high school varsity job at Jefferson High School, about halfway between Madison and Milwaukee, and your old stomping grounds, your old conference in the Rock Valley there, and it really enjoyed my time there. I got a chance to come into a program as a 26-year-old at that time, and they, had coming off a 1 win in 2 seasons combined, so no youth program. And it was, for a young guy, it was perfect because it gave me the opportunity to, start from scratch and build it the way I wanted to build it and try things out and fail miserably and figure out what I did wrong and try to fix it. And eventually, and I think for young coaches out there, this time of year is great because your youth teams are starting too, and that's the only reason I bring this up. And at Jefferson, is we got our youth program, the foundation solid. It's a school of about 600 kids. For those of you that aren't from Wisconsin, we were able to get at least two teams of 10 kids at every grade level, so 20 kids at every grade level, third through eighth grade, and that was really the start of us being able to feel like we could consistently compete in our conference. Was once we had that kind of tradition set up in our youth coming up. And so I spent 10 years there in Jefferson, and got the opportunity, an offer one day from Kevin Flegner, who was the AD here in Oconomowoc. And Kevin and I go way back. He actually played in the All-Star game when he was a senior in high school for my uncle, which was crazy, crazy story how we've crossed paths over the years. But we've known each other, and he reached out and had an opening and asked if I'd be interested, and got hired late in late July, coming in. I missed the whole summer. I mean, you were running everything that summer.
I'll tell that story when you get finished. I'll tell that story because that was the most crazy head on fire summer of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got hired late summer, and now this starting my ninth year here at Oconomowoc and 19th overall, and have just been really blessed to work with some great assistant coaches and just people that have supported my vision and the way I want to do things, and bought into my philosophy. And hopefully it's not the perfect one, but I feel strongly about it, and I think my assistants do too. And I think that's been a huge part of our success. And And then, the last piece I would say is that, also just been really fortunate to build great relationships in the state of Wisconsin through the Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association and my work there. And it's really benefited me in my personal growth and development, just getting to know a lot of great people and see the way different people do things around the state. And hopefully can share that with some of you on the season here as we go, just the insides of not just our program, but high school basketball across the state of Wisconsin. So
If you were to archetype coaches into different personality types, I would explain Jay as a great executive coach. He runs a great youth program. His staff is sharp and they got good people in it. They develop well and they're organized to compete. There's always a plan. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we I hope we all know what they are. But I believe yours and what people I hope get from you is you are on it. I've been around two great executive coaches in my life. You're one, and Alex Levine at Slinger is the other one, where it's just there's always a plan. I'm going somewhere all the time. I'm always thinking of ways to get our youth kids going or expand or grow from not I wouldn't don't want to say business standpoint, but youth basketball, it's kind of a business. You're managing people and developing a system and structure and all those things. And I think you two have been two of the best I've been around. So I hope people see that from you as we go through this season. And that the goal of this podcast, interestingly enough, is to go through a season with somebody. And you're the first person I thought of. And I've seen Hard Knocks, and I'm a huge sports fan, so I've seen all like the documentaries and the live through a season with the college coach. But as a high school coach, I wanted something for me and I couldn't find something for me to grow and develop. Like I can listen to um I don't know, Bo Ryan, and I can listen to Coach K, and I can listen to all these greats, but high school basketball is different. Youth basketball is different. Like we have to do uh draw up sets for kids who probably didn't touch a basketball, some of us from July to August or something like that. Like it's not the same thing. So I wanted something for high school coaches, which is why I came to this. And you're the first person I thought of, and it worked out. I think the Lord's blessing because we both have the same time off to record this, which is awesome. Brief background on me. I grew up in Illinois, in central Illinois. I did FCA camps as a college student, so I mentored young high school athletes. And then I had a high school coach from the area ask if I wanted to tag along his team. And his name was Cliff Cameron. He won state, what had all the records in like central Illinois at this small high school near Springfield, and really took me under his wing. And I fell in love with the game. Then I spent a year at UIS as a student manager after that. And if you're listening as a young guy, highly advise you put in the work early. Do that sort of thing instead of figure it out later. I don't want to do the hard work. I want to just be a high school coach and like no, go do the work. UIS for a year, and then I did another year at a school near Springfield area. Then, as I think the a blessing, I moved up to Oconomowoc, and right away there's a freshman job open. And that doesn't happen often at bigger high schools. There's usually a line of guys waiting to get into a staff, and it opened right away. And it was so much fun. And then the craziest thing happened. The head coach stepped down. The assistant coach took another job. The JV coach took another job. And I looked around, Jay, and I was at a school of 1,600 students, a youth program about 200 kids. I might be exaggerating. High school teams. I'm 24 years old. And I'm basically told, can you run the ship for the summer? And it was daunting. It was really hard, but it was the best thing for me. And then you came, was it July, late July?
Late July, yeah, I think last week of July maybe was the first time I was able to get in the gym at all with the kids. So
Yeah, and then I had this whole speech prepared about how I wanted to be the JV1 coach. And I was like, I'm gonna have to convince them, and I think I can do it. And I walked up to you and I was like, hey, can I talk to you? You're like, yeah. I was like, I'm thinking about doing JV1. You're like, you want to do it? I was like, yeah. You're like, all right. And, because I think you saw like I was running an entire program, youth and high school by myself for an entire summer. So I think there's some transitive skills that go on there. But what was your first impression of being at a much bigger high school, meeting me on the staff and that sort of thing?
yeah, I'll be honest with you, that you're spot on in your story there. That was perfect. You know, young coaches, any coaches, I would say, but do yourselves a favor and hire good people. Hire people who understand how to show up and work. Like when you need something, or the staff's going to pitch in on an event you're working. Like hire people that are going to show up and they're going to be good people. And like I said, don't settle for just whatever. And Hunter doesn't give himself enough credit in that story because I was definitely not just settling. He's exactly right. Like I hired a JV coach who basically by himself ran an entire high school program and youth program for an entire summer for 2 months almost. And when someone can do that, I had been doing it for 10 or 11 years at that point. I understood how tough it was. So to know that Hunter was able to handle himself doing that, I had no doubt in my mind that he could be a really good JV coach for us, that he would be organized and like understand the hard work and effort that it takes to run a good program and to give kids opportunities and experiences that coaches can do and most do. But in order to do that, you got to show up and you got to be there and be present. And he was present. So that was an easy one for me. I didn't have to think twice. Like I said, we got my JV coach set now, and now the hard part came, going out and finding really good other basketball people to join our staff that year, including some veteran guys that had a ton of experience, some older guys that, Uncle Brian and John and those guys, and then trying to find some young guys that our kids can relate to, that weren't too far removed and were high energy, and we were able to go get a couple good freshman guys right away too, that could step in, and John Fisher and
Yep.
Ryan Case and Enright eventually, and so
Yep.
just some young guys that were hungry to develop themselves, and eventually a couple of those guys have went on to become varsity coaches themselves as well. So
I want
that's
to
cool to
ping
see.
pong off that. I want to ping pong off that because it's really important. Whenever I decided after that summer, I was like, I'm ready to be a varsity coach. I know I can do it, but I'm going to put my time in. And I told you, and instead of saying like, whatever, like, let me help you. Like, let's work on this. Let's do this. And that's extremely important as a human being. I'm not talking about coaching, just as a human being. Like, I'm not going to be selfish and worry about keeping you on my staff or figuring out my staff. You want to be a head coach? I'm going to help you do that. And I thought you doing that was huge. So sorry to cut you off. That was really important.
Yeah, I know you're right. I mean, and I look at all my younger coaches that way. How can I help them not just grow as a coach and a person, but if they want to have their own program one day, like I need to pull back the curtain and show them what I'm doing, and like because it's easy to see. Like I've been doing this for 19 years, like I said. So there's certain things I do that I just have my own systems and ways, and like it doesn't seem like it's taking me much time or effort to do a lot of the things because I'm so used to doing them. But showing Hunter or John Fisher, who's on my staff right now, that'll be a great head coach one day, showing them all the emails you're responding to from the youth program while you're also practice planning and watching film and taking all the things that go in. Just you have to be organized, and you have to make sure that you're getting to all those things. You can't just leave one bucket here and let it just keep overflowing while these other areas aren't being attended to. And as a head coach, that sometimes that can be hard. You're right. It's a daunting task because there's a lot of things, especially when you get to this time of year. You're trying to get ready for your own varsity season, but you're worried about your JV coaches and their teams, the freshman coaches, and you got youth starting league. So my biggest thing was I just wanted to show you guys that it's not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but you're prepared. Come and see, help me with this. Like you helped us run that youth tournament, like it'd be a major part of that one year, because I wanted you to see you're going to have to run your own youth tournament when you leave here someday. So that's part of the deal. While you're also coaching your JV team, you were organizing that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or John Fisher running our youth camps in the summer and taking the lead a little bit more on those. Okay, you're doing that, but we're also doing skill work with our varsity and up or our high school players, and going to league at night, and still having to get our butts out of bed in the morning and come back and do youth camp again the next day. You know, I just think offering up those experiences, and for me as a head coach, I don't look at it and go, well, I got to do that. It's my program. It's all me. It's all on me. Like, no, let me spread it around. Like, that's why I hired you guys. I want you to get
Right.
experiences too, so that you're prepared to go on. And you and I've told you this before, and I tell John all the time, but you know what? This is the way I do it because it makes sense to me and works for me. I hope when you have your own programs, you tweak things and take the best of what I'm doing and make it your own, and create your own things as well. And when you do that, now you're becoming your own coach. It's not cookie cutter.
Yep.
You're your own person, but I like to think we do a lot of things the right way, here in our program, and you probably found a handful of things that you really liked and took with you.
Yeah, what's interesting is so I take the job at Bigfoot, 26 years old, the same as you. And I expected, I expected a similar experience that Oconomowoc had. And that was my first problem when I didn't realize that we had three youth teams, fourth through eighth grade, and it was combining grades. I couldn't find coaches. I couldn't even find a freshman coach for my own staff. The week before the season started, our principal decided to coach. So I'm a 26-year-old. I'm supposed to be in charge of my staff, but it's a principal that's in charge of me. And I took for granted how easy it was, perceived easy it was at Oconomowoc because you have this whole organism and you have a lot of people who are pitching in and stuff. And it's not really that easy, but you have good people. And then I took that, and people need to realize you got to be careful about the job you select. In hindsight, would I have really taken that job? Give me some true serum. I don't know. I don't, I don't know.
Hey, I know when you took that job, you really just wanted to be a head coach, and I think and get a little closer to home. That was also part of it, I think. But
Yes. Yes.
I think you wanted it so bad that I
Yep.
think that when that became an opportunity, like, hey, I can do it. I can live out this dream of being a varsity head coach and have my own program. That it was too tempting not to jump, right? You know what I
Yes.
mean? That was
Yes.
that would be my own, evaluation of how you ended up there. And
You're
there
right.
were many conversations that you and I had because I had just been in that conference at a school that was small that we had to rebuild and figure things out. It was a very, very similar situation. And oddly enough, like, hopefully my experience, the phone calls we had, were able to just keep you like your head above the water because it's tough. I mean, it's there's nights you're going home, and when I coached at Jefferson, I wasn't married, I was single, and there's nights you're going home and you're in a house by yourself, going, "What am I doing? Like, what? Why am I doing this? Like, what am I doing? This is hard, and it's like we're not good, and we're trying to get better, and I just you kind of get frustrated and have to find the positives in all the little things, like, hey, let's win this half, and then let's maybe win another half. Like,
Let's score.
we might lose this game, but like let's try to start by winning the next three possessions. Little things, and I think you guys did a really great job of that your first couple years of just keeping perspective and while you were building and not letting your kids get down, not letting yourselves get frustrated or disappointed, and you fought your way through it and came out on the other side feeling really good about what you had built and put together there.
Yeah, I'll go through that real quick so people listening, I don't know if everyone will know, but we'll in this background episode just go ahead and do it. So I took the job at Bigfoot, and I didn't get my first win until January 8th. So I went to Christmas with my family and all my friends, your varsity coach, how's the season going? And had to say, I've not won a game yet. And you're right. I was humiliated. I was humbled. I doubted if I was supposed to be doing it. I every question you could have in the book, I had. And then COVID hits. And then my second born son is born the week before COVID shut down. In my life, I felt like I was in shambles for 6 months. Had no motivation, no care, nothing. And that was so hard. And I relied on my people. I relied on you. I relied on Jim O'Leary. I relied on other friends, wise counsel that could say, dude, you're fine. You know what you're doing. Put the time in and get to work. So the first season, I was 4-18. And we were out of most games by halftime, truly. You'd look up and it'd be 12 to 45. The second year, we had the COVID season, and I feel like we would have had a good year, but I challenged my boys. I wanted a full schedule, so we played Janesville Parker, we played Oregon, we played hard teams because we wanted to fill a schedule, and I feel like we would have been above 500 if we hadn't done that. And then the following year, it all came together and we set the school record for wins in a season, points in a season, assists, threes, playoff wins. And then it all clicked. And then I realized that's what we've been like everything we've been working on, the mentorship, the things I got from you, the things I got from Levine, the things I got from O'Leary, the things I got from all these people, just chip away at it, chip away at it, chip away at it. And one day it might work out. And right place, right time. I had a group of kids that bought into what we were doing. I started them as freshmen and sophomores my first year, and then they were juniors and seniors that last year. And we took our lumps, and they'd had, I don't know, 50 something games under their belt. Like that's valuable, right? But when you
Yeah.
get to the playoffs, they know what they're doing, man. They've played a ton of games. And we went on a crazy tournament run, man. Upset after upset, highlights all night, and then we find ourselves in the quarterfinals against St. Thomas More and two Division One kids, 6'6", 6'8". We're a bunch of farm kids in southern Wisconsin. And I think not, I looked up like projections and talked to people like they were saying if they can keep it within 30, it'll be a good game. And this is the state quarterfinals, and we were down two with a minute and a half left, and we couldn't pull it off. And then the next few years were good years too. Had some good talent, won a lot of games, and then I hit a wall. And I this is something that if you're still coaching, you probably haven't hit. But I hit a wall and just said spend more time with your family, step down and invest in other ways. So that's what led me to doing the podcast and the website and the books and stuff because I want to help high school coaches take what I've learned. Um, that's the Spark Note version. So here's what I want to do, Jay. I want to introduce your staff. I want people to know names as we're talking throughout the year. So maybe just go quickly through your JV staff so we know their names and give them a shout out, and then we can spend a second talking about varsity, who you have doing what for your team.
Yeah, so start with my freshman coaches. We at our school we have two freshman teams. We have an A and a B. We'll keep about 20 to 22 kids on those freshman team. Not each team, but 10 or 11 on each team. So 22 total freshmen we'll keep. And I have Jonas Samp, who is a math teacher here at Oconomowoc and former player here before my time. Ona played for the previous coaching staff here and ended up coming back and get a teaching job in his hometown, and he's done a nice job. It'll be his second year as the freshman A coach. And my freshman B coach is James Minogue. And oddly enough, I coached James in Jefferson at my previous stop, and I brought him up as a freshman, and he played some minutes for me on varsity my last year there. And you'll meet one of my other assistants in a little bit that eventually took over as the head coach at that school and coached James through the rest of his career, and he is now on my staff here as an assistant.
Real
Um,
quick, if I want to butt in, I coached against James his senior year, and on our senior night we played them, and I was tired of getting beat by like one awesome player in our conference because we had a few teams like that, and we ran a box and one, and that dude didn't get a look the whole game. We lost, but he didn't get a look the entire game.
James could really shoot it, man. He could really shoot, and he still can. But anyway, he's our freshman B coach, and he played I think 2 or 3 seasons at St. Norbert's College up in Green Bay for Gary Gresh, who's a legendary coach here in our state. So yeah, those two are freshmen, and then on my JV I have Ryan Case. Ryan's a PE teacher at one of the elementaries here in town. He's been with us now, I think, going on 8 years, 8 or 9 years. Ryan got hired right out of college here as a elementary phy ed teacher and was our freshman coach up until last year. Last year was his first season as my JV coach. We bumped him up when one of our previous JV coaches got a head coaching job, and Ryan came up. And Ryan played college ball at Carthage College here in Racine, Kenosha area. So really great background, good basketball guy, good mind there. And then right now we have a couple guys helping out, floating around, helping out at wherever we need them. But Bobby Janowiak is a phy ed teacher and at the high school here now, and he helps out as well. And then Ethan Schultz, who just graduated for me last year, he's actually going to a 2-year school down the road. So he's in the area, and he's like, I want to help out. Where do you need me? So he's going to be floating around helping this year with all 3 levels, and he knows our system, and he's going to eventually be a chiropractor, so I need someone to crack my joints and get me going. So I told Ethan, I said, you can help out for 2 years and then go off to chiropractic school, and you better come back to the area. I don't want to sound like crazy numbers here, but we do have like 11 or 12 guys on our staff, and I'm pretty sure we kick most of your butts if you want to throw your staff against us. I think we have a pretty good chance, but we got some guys that can still hoop a little on staff. So we'd love to take on any other coaching staffs around that want to get some pickup games going.
We should arrange that. There should be some sort of high school staffs. One of my hot takes last year in my podcast series, I brought on a different head coach every single week and we talked. And one of them, I did like some hot takes. I said in a different universe, if I could add any rule to basketball, it'd be coaches get to play one quarter, the head coach. So it adds a lot of strategy to who you hire in, what quarter they're going to play, all that stuff.
I
Uh,
refuse to lose to my high school players when I play with them. So they don't ever beat me. It never happens. So I think we'd be all
I
right.
I think we need to phone in Fisher, Galloway, Caleb. We need to get some other input on this one.
They know I just foul them if they beat me off the bounce or something. So they know they're not getting a clean shot up.
Uh, could you give us like a quick rundown, your some of your assistants and what they do for you?
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate because we're able to hire volunteer assistants here, and those guys have been with us for a while and been really great. My right hand man really is John Fisher, and you've heard his name come up a few times. And Johnny's been around now the past
Since
six
the year I
seasons.
started. Yeah,
Yeah, 6 seasons on varsity though. I think he was our
yeah,
freshman coach for 1 year and eighth grade coach the year before that, and then
yeah.
now I think this will be his sixth or seventh year on varsity, and his role is really, I mean, we bounce ideas off each other, but he comes to me and he's overseeing our offense right now and installing some new things offensively for us. He does our subbing during games, so between him and I get on the same page on kind of what we're looking for rotation and feel for the game, and he does a lot of our in-game subbing that way. And like I said, he's down the road here will be an excellent head coach when he's ready to take that jump. So and shout out to his wife right now. They're due in about a day or two with their second child, their daughter. So I'm really
Poor
excited for
timing,
them.
Fish.
Yeah, yeah, right. I'm super excited for him and his family because they're going to add one. And what better time of year, right? Start of the basketball season. He can take a little time off and just coach. So very good. And the next guy, Tim Porterfield, is a volunteer assistant for us. Tim was my teammate in college. Him and I were roommates for a while. He was actually a freshman when I was a senior, but we ended up basically hanging out together a ton and being on the same team. And then as I said, I coached at Viterbo for 4 years after I got done playing. So I coached him all the way through his college career. And it just happened to be that when I took the Oconomowoc job, he lived not far away and eventually bought a tiny fixer upper house in town and he fixed it up and he's been on staff for like the last 5 years now. And Tim's like a 6'7" shooting guard. And so he brings a lot of value to our staff and builds great relationships with kids. And he helps John out with really anything John's doing. Tim's kind of working with him on that side of it. The next guy is Greg Jeffries. He's a fifth grade teacher at a middle school here in town. He was my assistant at Jefferson. And when I left to come to Oconomowoc, Greg became the head coach there and did it for, I think, 2 or 3 seasons, and then got hired down here in Oconomowoc and rejoined my staff as an assistant. A crazy story about Greg, like him and I grew up about 10 minutes from each other, two small towns in western Wisconsin. And when I was coaching at Viterbo, I actually recruited Greg and signed him. And he came in as a kid that I had signed in one of our recruiting classes and played for me for I think 2 or 3 seasons before I left for Jefferson. And then again, not far after that, he ended up kind of moving to Madison and ended up joining my staff. And we've been connected for many years now since he was a small child. I've known him growing up, so it's great having him around. And then Charlie Fisher's our last assistant, and him and John, same spelling of last name, but not related.
I thought they were cousins for the longest time.
Kind of a weird thing, right? I mean, yeah, they look nothing alike. John's maybe about 5'11", and Charlie's about 6'4", and but Charlie brings just a great basketball mentality. Him and Johnny they went to high school together. Both Fishers went to high school together, and they won a state title together. So they bring that background of they know the Classic 8, the conference we're in, and they've won conference championships and state championships And Charlie went on to play EW Whitewater, and he actually won a Division III national championship at Whitewater as a player there. So he's a volunteer assistant as well. When his work allows it, he's here at practice on the bench and just brings, again, a good background base and knowledge for us. And yeah, I think that's all of them. But
That's, I mean, it's an amazing group of guys. And as we close here, I got the Oconomowoc zip up on. I'm still a big fan. I still really respect the guys. I have a gripe with John. His workout music is terrible. I hope he's listening. But he was one of my favorite people. We just laughed a lot. Like laughed a lot. Actually, so much that we shouldn't have stood by each other during games because it was like not the time. It's
yeah, yeah.
just a really good time. As we close episode, we'll call it zero, the introduction, and move into next week. We're going to talk about tryouts and how to plan for a tryout, how you do cuts, what you're thinking as far as moving kids up, keeping kids down, and that sort of thing. I think it's really important. Schools like states like Illinois are starting uh, Monday, which with this one will play at. So it'll be before our tryouts. So the country's a little off here as far as times, but we hope the tryouts applies to a lot of people and it gives them something to think about as you guys are getting started. And then we'll do a Classic 8 preview the following week. Almost every Monday, you'll see an episode. The only time you won't is if Jay's swamped and I don't want to bother him because they're in the thick of it. So we're not going to commit to every Monday, but I'll say most Mondays we'll see you every morning on Monday. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next week.